Tonight in the Policy Breakdown, I want to talk to you about the impact that politicians have to change the lives of everyday people. Now, some would argue that yes, politicians have lives to change a lot. They have the ability to change the lives of everyday people because they enact regulation, they pass laws, and they create policies. And that is indeed true. But I want to talk particularly of the power that politicians can use, or how they can sort of push their weight around, whether it be media influence or people power, to change decisions and alter the minds of individuals to the detriment of that individual. Now, to talk about this, I want to use one example in particular. I want to use the Volkswagen plant in Tennessee. So now, as folks know, the Volkswagen company is a German company, and a German company that strongly believes in the rights of the worker and in the right to collectively bargain. So when the Volkswagen plant moved to Tennessee, there was a push by the United Auto Workers with the help of Volkswagen to unionize the Chattanooga-based plant. Now here is what then this happened. Statements from Tennessee politicians such as Senator Bob Corker, Governor Haslam, and State Senator Watson against, voting against the Volkswagen worker to join the union caused the situation. So what Bob Corker did was he went on the television, he talked about how horrible this would be. He used the media to taint the mind and poison the wells of Tennesseans and beyond that of the folks that work in the Volkswagen plant. This was to the demise of the UAW and of the union and of the right to collectively bargain. Now I'm going to get into collective bargaining in just a second, but let's talk about the vote in particular. So the vote which failed, 626 workers in favor and 712 workers opposed, and ended the United Auto Workers' drive to unionize the plant in Chattanooga. The union has since filed an appeal with the National Labor Relations Board claiming that the politician's statement interfered and made it impossible for there to be a free and clear election. So there was some bullying happening, as required by labor laws. Now, Corker has told the press that Volkswagen was planning to build a new line of cars at the plant if the vote failed, a statement the company denied. So basically, what Bob Corker did was he used the power he has as a senator of the United States and the ability that every time he shows up and says something, he can get a camera to say it too, and he can go into millions of homes to say it, to lie on Volkswagen. And by lying on Volkswagen, he caused those 30 or 40 some odd folks that work at the plant to not believe the truth. So he used the media and he used his power to the detriment of the worker, and he used his power to lie and to spread lies about what was truly happening at the Volkswagen plant. And herein lies the problem, folks. When politicians use dishonesty, right? And they use the fact that they can get to the media and they have the means of production and get on Twitter, they can get to the media, they can get to social media to lie. The impact that has on the everyday worker. Now, imagine if those workers at that Volkswagen plant were allowed to unionize. That would mean they would have better benefits. They would have the right to collectively bargain for wages. They would probably have less fatalities at the job. They would have better communities. There would probably be an education fund for their children to go to college. They could probably uplift their entire block because of the money that they were allowed to be brought in because they decided to collectively bargain. When there is no collective bargaining, the corporation has the ability to just devour the employee and devour the worker. My mom used to say growing up, there's strength in numbers, and collective bargaining is indeed that strength in numbers. Now, the sad part about this whole deal, the sad part behind this whole deal is that these politicians created lies and tinkering and use their influence to destroy and crush the union's plan to organize. Now, this speaks to what I was saying before, how politicians use the media to sort of push their personal agenda, and in order to do it, they lie to the American people. This isn't the first time we've seen this. Think about Paul Ryan's pathway to prosperity. In the pathway to prosperity, Paul Ryan said, if you do this and you pass this bill and you follow this law and you endorse my budget, there will be a pathway to prosperity. Too bad he forgot to tell you that pathway to prosperity means taking food from babies, cutting the WIC program, cutting food stamps, cutting Section 8 housing, cutting welfare benefits or the TANF program, eliminating Head Start programs, destroying the pensions and destroying pensions and destroying federal workers and crushing and degrading teachers and public employees. They tell you none of that. They just speak about this pathway to prosperity. The same goes for raising the minimum wage. Over and over again, we've heard politicians talk about raising the minimum wage does nothing but hurt our economy. It does nothing but make it hard for people to get a living. But the truth is that the Congressional Budget Office reported that if we raise the minimum wage, we could take almost 1 million families out of poverty. The problem here is it just doesn't add up. And what we need more of is independent media or media that's willing to tell the truth about the situation. What happened to the days when you heard one side, you heard another side, and the anchor told the truth? Those days don't exist anymore. And to be perfectly honest with you, maybe I'm part of the problem because I'm one of those folks that go out there and I'm on television and I speak on what I believe to be the issues or what I believe to be the truth or not the truth. But one thing that we hold dear at the Fowler Show and that I hold dear to my character is that when I go out, I tell the truth of the matter, the truth of the issue, whether it be about the Hobby Lobby case and why a woman should have, why birth control is part of health care, to the fact that the Affordable Care Act benefits millions and millions and millions of Americans. What we need is somebody to tell the truth to the American worker and the American people. Because if we do indeed equip American citizens with the truth, we can make for a better society, we can make for a stronger middle class, and we can make for a better economy right here in America. But sadly, when politicians choose to lie to get their way, when they choose to lie to stop the advancement of unions, or they choose to lie to stop the advancement of collective bargaining, or they choose to lie to degrade the rights of women, or they choose to lie to continue the killing spree of African American boys and men, when they choose to use these lying tactics via the media to tell these lies or espouse these mistruths, all they do is not only do they harm our society, but they harm and taint the welfare themselves. Because at the end of the day, we're all Americans. And one thing that we all have in common is we all want to see the best for our country and the best for our children. But if we can't tell the truth to one another and we can't speak truths, then how can we truly live? How can we truly be the greatest country on earth? We can't, fundamentally. Because truth of the matter is, and Bob Corker knows the facts are where there is collective bargaining and where there is a union, you have less work-based fatalities. You have a more thriving middle class. You have a higher education system. All those exist in places where the union is strong and the union exists. And let's not forget the other fact, that if it wasn't for labor unions, we would not have seen the middle class that we have and love today. If it wasn't for labor unions, we wouldn't have the small businesses that we have today. So let's talk about the facts, Senator Corker and Paul Ryan, and all those politicians out there like to dispel or like to tell mistruths. Let's talk about the facts first. And the facts are pretty simple here. If you can educate your constituents about the facts, if all the workers, the almost 1,400 workers at the Volkswagen plant knew the truth, that collective bargaining meant a better healthcare policy, that collective bargaining meant better benefits for them and their children, that collective bargaining meant a safer workplace. If they know all those things to be true, they wouldn't believe the lies that you espoused to them when you decided to say that Volkswagen was not going to build a new car there because they decided to collectively bargain, when it was absolutely the opposite. And Volkswagen actually appreciates collective bargaining. But that's neither here nor there. The truth of the matter is, if our politicians told the truth of the media, we'd live in a better and safer and more productive society.